What up, Don Mafia? Welcome to another edition of the Don Mafia Report. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at some of the key things that the Buffalo Bills need to improve on, and it's starting right now. What up, Don Mafia? Welcome to another edition of the Don Mafia Report. You know what, guys? I really thought that I would be over yesterday's game, but that is the furthest thing from the case. Yesterday, I was a very pissed off drunk guy. And you know what? It probably didn't help a lot that I was watching the game with a Philly fan. That was probably my first mistake. And then I feel like I personally screwed the team. Why, you might ask? When we were up 7-3, I changed up my food order. I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'll step away from chicken wings today. Let me change it up a little bit. I'm kind of sick of chicken wings. I have them all the time. So I decided to order a Philly cheesesteak. And then soon as when I took that first bite, ladies and gentlemen, it was that 3-2 fumble that completely switched up the momentum of the game. So it was my fault, guys. I f***ed us, and my sincerest apologies for that. But in all seriousness, guys, I was not pleased with our team's performance this past Sunday on all sides of the ball, whether it was the offensive play calling, whether or not that it was the way that our defense played, just the decision making in a whole was not the Bills' best performance by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, sure, we could blame the weather, we could blame the play calling, but at the end of the day, guys, we need to win games like this. We really need to. I wanted for us so bad for this to be our statement game and to prove to the rest of the NFL that the Buffalo Bills are for real. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be one of those fans that is going to be calling for this person to get fired or so-and-so to get fired or this is the end of our season. That's not the case, guys. I mean, if you were to tell me before the offseason even started sometime in late spring or midsummer that we would be 5-2 after our first 7 games, then I'd be completely ecstatic. And hope for the season is still there, trust me. 110%. But that doesn't mean that we have several things that the Bills as an entire organization need to work on so we can actually make a run right into the playoffs. Because making the playoffs right now, we're going to. And I will not be satisfied until we at least win our first wildcard round and then go into the divisional round right afterwards. And frankly, a loss to an NFC team legitimately means absolutely nothing. We are fortunate enough to have a very favorable schedule in a conference that is not very talented, maybe outside of 2 or 3 other teams. We got a really good shot, but that doesn't mean that we still have things to improve on, which is exactly the reason for this video. So let's just dive through these together and have a conversation. First thing first is the offensive play calling. And now that I'm sure that you guys saw in my last video when I was collabing with #sports or whether or not that it was one of my solo videos, Brian Dable has been a question mark. I'm not saying that I think that we need to run him out of town just yet, but some of the calls that this man has been executing so far this season have been super, super questionable. First and foremost, why have we not been running the football? That's like the biggest question that I have had so far this season while watching the Buffalo Bills play. Now, I totally understand that Devin Singletary suffered an injury after week 2, and we needed to give him some time to heal. I have also heard several theories that when it comes to rookie running backs, you don't want to let them burn out because their bodies are not used to playing full NFL schedules. So you kind of want to, sweeten them in and just let them make those adjustments so we can have them right at their best as the later half of the season progresses. But maybe I'm missing something. I mean, maybe Devin is just not doing well in practice. And I mean, maybe the coaching staff is seeing something in practice that we're not seeing as fans. But when you look at it, I was looking at stats the other day. Devin Singletary only has 20 attempts all season. Now, like I said, he was injured for the majority of our season so far. This week against the Eagles, 3 attempts, 3 rushing attempts. And it blows my mind too, because it's not like that he's not demonstrating what he can do. I mean, that one touchdown drive was incredible. It showed you his athleticism. It showed you how he can break off to the outside, make teams miss, and be a true weapon to our offense. But for some reason, he's just not being used, and it just blows my mind. Especially when, like, going into it, you can watch one of my last videos when I said, in order to be the Eagles, we need to establish the run, which we did not. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that I was a huge advocate last season for wanting to pass the ball more, but, I mean, now we're getting one extreme over the other. And when when you're trying to focus your game on the pass, when you're having 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, what are you doing? And so same with Frank Gore too, right? I mean, he is having an incredible season. I know that he's 36, and maybe I can see, or maybe I could understand the reasoning behind not putting too much work on Frank Gore. He's 36 years old. While he's still performing at a very high level, I could see why they're not giving him the attempts that he needs to. But the lack of usage with Devin Singletary is just blowing my mind. I have no idea. Say that we want to avoid games that just happened against Philly, then I really think that we need to make Devin Singletary a very large part of this offense, because teams, now they know that we are a pass-happy offense, and frankly, we really don't have the weapons in receiving right now besides John Brown and Cole Beasley. We'll get to the receiving core here soon. So then it comes down to those designed QB runs. Now, the most notable was that 3-2 decision by Brian Dable, where Josh Allen tried getting those last 2 yards to get that first down. But then we all know how that ended up going through. He fumbled the ball, and then that gave the Eagles tremendous field position, and in my opinion, that is what exactly switched the momentum of that game, because soon as when that happened, that's when it was just all Eagles for the remainder of that game. I get it that Josh is a very athletic quarterback, I really do, but it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you are the most athletic quarterback on the face of the planet. With the amount of designed QB runs that he does, it doesn't matter how talented you are going to give up the football. Whether or not it's a fumble, whether or not it's a strip sack, it's going to happen. It's just a game of probability, and I really think that we need to get away from those. I think that Josh should only be running when he has zero options. When he has zero options, and we need to get that first down. So now we're getting into our receiving core. I'm actually going to circle back on this. I am really going to circle back on this, because the last couple of appearances that I have had, I have said, with the trade line approaching, we do not need a wide receiver. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to eat crow here, guys, because you heard me say that I think that we had the weapons on our team already. And one thing that stuck out to me was, what if John Brown goes down? I mean, knock on wood right here. I mean, that's the absolute last thing that we need, but God forbid that John Brown were to go down. What exactly would our offense look like? What would it look like? I mean, we paid Cole Beasley a whole bunch of money, and he's apparently not a part of the game plan. Knox, our tight end, he's showed some glimmer of hope and has made some great plays, but he's super inconsistent with his hands. So, I mean, John Brown is a huge part of our offense. And, I mean, that's really all we have. And it blows my mind, too, because I saw this tweet the other day that said that the Buffalo Bills offense consists of Josh Allen running the ball and John Brown. And, I mean, that's true. I really think that we need to go on ahead and we need to start utilizing our other weapons. And then maybe, as much as I don't want to, make a move for another receiver so before the deadline tomorrow. Because it's just showed how much our offense depends on John Brown. And I love John Brown, trust me. He's our number one, but I mean, we need to get another weapon, because it's clear that Foster is not a part of the game plan. I don't think he had many snaps this past Sunday. So I mean, we need to look into some other type of weapon right here, because like I said, God forbid something happens to John Brown, then I mean, we're f***ed. Last but not least is our defense. Now, I know that no one would have ever thought that our defense would be an issue, and it's really not, guys. We still have an elite defense. Our secondary is still lights out, but it just can't do it for us each and every single game. And I think the reason why we ended up giving out so many points these past 2 weeks, especially against the Eagles and especially against the Miami Dolphins, was teams know how to prepare for the Buffalo Bills. They know that they cannot go in there with a pass-first mentality or our defense is not going to allow it. So you'll probably notice a theme between last Sunday's game and the game against the Miami Dolphins. They had a rush-first attack, and they are essentially exposing our D-line and our run defense, which in my opinion has been struggling. We really need to invest or figure something out when it comes to stopping the run, because that's what teams are going to be doing throughout the remainder of the season, because they realize, okay, this is how you beat the Buffalo Bills defense. You just run it down their throat, because their defensive line just can't stop anybody. Like I said, like my number one trade target moving forward was just a great pass rusher, was Yannick Ngakoue from Jacksonville. I would love to see that move be made. I would love to see a Vic Beasley move be made, like just like some dominating force in the defense that can stop the run. Milano is fantastic with that, but he cannot do it himself. If we can contain the run and be as dominant as we are in the secondary, then there is nothing stopping us from a 12-4 record this year. There really isn't. But that is how teams have learned how to expose the Buffalo Bills defense, and that's something that I think that we need to work on. All right, guys. So, I mean, those are, three things that I thought that the Buffalo Bills need to improve on. I'm sure that there's, several more. But one other thing that I just kind of want to throw out there, I mean, I was reading a bunch of tweets right after the game, and a lot of people, were just going back to their normal fan stuff. Like, oh, this is a wash of a season. I told you we sucked. Like, we're not making the playoffs. Fire Bean. Fire McDermott. Fire Dable. Start Barkley. Like, no, guys. No. Not at all. Like I said before, if you were to tell me that we were 5-2 after the first 7 games of the season, I would have been ecstatic. 110%. I mean, we're a good football team. We're still figuring things out. I think that we just need to tweak a couple of different things, and we can get our season back on. I mean, like I said, guys, we have a very favorable schedule. I mean, next week we have the Redskins. I'm not going to say that we're about to embarrass the Redskins this time, because we all know what happened when I said that we would embarrass the Dolphins, but I like the way that game is looking out for us. And then the Cleveland Browns have been struggling tremendously as well. The only thing that we can do is really just take this game with the Eagles with a grain of salt. Yes, it was a terrible performance, but at the end of the day, it was an NFC team. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, and that's just how everything works out. It really does. We have a great team. I still think we're going to make the playoffs, and one single loss like this it means nothing, guys. But besides that, guys, thank you for tuning in to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. If you're new here, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support the channel, then just visit my Patreon at www.patreon.com/Dan Mitchell. That is how this channel stays alive. Anyway, thank you for tuning in once again, and we'll see you next time. Let's go Buffalo.